I'm cracking up. So, as it reads, how many people have you taught how to turn $5 into $1,000? Probably zero, based on their assumptions. But I don't get up to Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, same fucking difference. That's not my bag. So I don't see how that's relevant. But back to point. All right. I've taught untold numbers. Notice you have no audience and big opinions. And then he left 4 letters, whatever the fuck that means, because this kid is very bright and clearly thinking for himself. Oh, by the way, I offended them. I offended him, is what I should say, because I bashed his superficial, shitty books, pardon me, I forgot, they're cash grabs. Yeah, as the video highlights. Back to point, they are in one book, and I don't make any money off those. I'm not selling those versions. I don't fucking know that, but your name's on there. So that doesn't reflect well on your character. In my book, get it? Nudge, nudge, something, something. You see what I did there? Nice puns. Work on your ignorance. That alone, those 4 words strung together, just cracks me up. Work on your ignorance. All right. And then we got that, those 4 letters again. And then we got 3 letters, which I do know what that means, but there's no reason to abbreviate them if you're a well-meaning, human being full of abstract thought. Are you an adult? Do you consider yourself an adult? Do you consider yourself mildly intelligent? Yeah. Do you have free will? Because if so, words have power, which is also ironic based on the shitty books that this kid crapped out. And the fact that they're not spelling their words like a big kid. Yeah. But not to worry, internet. No one will probably see this post anyway. Because I don't have an audience, because I'm systematically censored, because I can teach you things you're not supposed to know, unlike kids like this. What else did they say? They said, FYI, those are the first 100 pages of the total 800 pages. I pointed out 2 books that I found on Amazon.com. You could watch the video. Most of you probably won't see this, so you won't watch the video. He could have squeezed it all into one book, but instead he turned it into a cash grab. Both the books are fucking garbage. And yeah, I'm returning them. But it's not going to affect him because he doesn't make money on this shit. But he could teach people how to make $1,000 out of $5. Fucking ridiculous. So I had to click on this, and it says it's Zachary Hubbard. He's got 39,000 people following him because he's shopping around our master's adult fairy tales. He's shopping around fucking superficial Google searches, as the other video pointed out. He's shopping around Wikipedia searches. He's not teaching you grassroots approaches. He's not teaching you something you're not supposed to know. He's not teaching you something that the public sphere isn't aware of. It's bullshit. It's 8 pounds of bullshit in a 2-pound bag. And again, I hurt his feelings, so he wrote me twice, which is even better. I do that sometimes just to irritate people, but based on the fact that he shit out 2 quote-unquote books, one's a novella and should have been part of the other one, in my humble opinion. This is funny that he left me 2 comments. That's the point. Here's the video. So this is a before video. I just sat on some socks. I picked these up for relatively cheap. Somebody was babbling about them online. At first blush, it doesn't look good. I mean, Seminar 8 will teach you things you don't know having to do with superficial shit. This is rattling off elections are rigged and sports is rigged, and people should already know this shit. So I don't have high hopes, but I'm going to run through these. They're pretty short. He should have put them all in one fucking book, but he's milking this shit. Naturally, the first one it's closer to a novella at best. And then you got the second one. These are cheap though. I think I picked them both up for maybe under $5 each. Mind you, each. Either way, I'm going to flag some stuff, run through it, and see what's what, and then I'll splice this into this video. These are my grubby toes. This is some vegan concoction that I've been eating, unfortunately. Necessary evils. And here's the ISBNs to these piece of shit books. Keep in mind I've leafed through them, superficially, mind you, and I'm not impressed. I wanted to be. That's what I want you guys to take away from this. I'm hoping somebody will fucking surprise me, but that's not the case. These books promote planets, they promote dinosaurs, they promote superficial Google searches, essentially Wikipedia. This information is not new. Somebody saw something and added a couple numbers up and thought it was profound and shit out a couple books, and or was tasked with doing so and repeating these narratives that reinforce the official narrative of propaganda, noise, nonsense, rabbit holes, pointless shit. Some of you might find some of this interesting because you haven't gone looking. You haven't been thorough. If you do, you just take one of these, I mean, most of this isn't worth a damn anyway, but if you took one of the subjects in the book, and the one I want to talk about, I don't want to mention because that will tell you that I'm into that jazz. And I don't want to throw you guys a bone because most of you haven't been keeping up. But you can take a subject in this book and you can gut the fucking thing like a fish. And then you can find something like this floating around online. And you can read it, you can leaf through it, you can spot what's what, I mean, at a blush, without wasting your life. I mean, it's simple as that, but people are not researching, so they think this shit's profound. It's terrifying. And then they repeat it, and then they crap it out. A bargain bin version of it, mind you. And this already should have been one book. This shouldn't have been 2 books, even if it's cheap. It should have been a book. I mean, that alone is insulting. The author or whoever technically shit this out is taking people for a ride. I haven't committed their name to memory. It looks like Zachary Hubbard, creator of Free to Find Truth. It is laughable. The other thing you're going to see in here, part of my stomach, it's making noises because I need to eat. He's going to shit out a lot of gematria. And I have taught you guys things online related to this and why this is misdirection for the most part. And people who spin their wheels on this are wasting your time and theirs. It's a fact, but again, you'd have to appreciate the things that I've left online that are for the most part private now because people weren't keeping up and people were still taking what I could teach you and slapping it into shit like this. While I was leafing through this earlier, I had a decent analogy, but now I can't think of it offhand. I was kind of hoping it would come back to me. Here, I'm sure most of you want to see that. He wrapped some of the numbers around the sigil of pi. Ooh. Is it profound? Are you entertained? And aside from that, he's also doing what you see in, astrology circles, or numerology again, where you're going to have people just reducing people's, and I say reducing, you'll hear it as a bunch of flowery shit, numerical reduction of some fuck all. They're just simplifying things. 10 reduces to 1. If it was a 19, it's a complex letter. It's going to reduce to a 10 and a 1. From the 19, 1 plus 9. Ooh! And you probably should think of all of those. And when you see books like this, usually what they'll do is they'll tell you 19 reduces to a 1. They'll skip a step. Usually. I don't know if he did that in here. But typically speaking, that's what superficial kids will do. It's a shit example. I had something else I was going to rattle off. Oh yeah, so astrology and numerology. They'll spend large amounts of time just adding up your name and your birth date and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same fucking song and dance. And yes, those things will hold power. But if you're also using gematria to do it, you're probably not going to see anything. I keep saying you're not going to see the forest for the trees. And if you're using gematria to try to figure this shit out, you might want to remember what I constantly fucking echo. I keep stressing, keep it simple, heathens. But the kids who are using gematria are not doing that. And I've explained the difference between what I can teach you and what people shop around and what these things are and how they work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm being very vague at the moment because I've left a lot of answers online and in books and most people don't care. Let's go back to that because I'm sure you want to know what that picture is, right? Where the fuck is it? It's dominoes. You guys also noticed that, and this one cracks me up, but that's a whole nother ball of wax. I'm talking about pizza now. I'm not talking about little girls. I'm talking about, the pizza delivery bullshit. Do you remember when it was Domino's and they had 2 Domino's on top of the delivery truck? And now they have 1 Domino? I feel like they should change it. Just like Joanne's is Joanne now. It should just be Domino. Because everything's going to hell in a handbasket. You look close, he's also just rattling off the same old song and dance with, what people think of as the Kabbalah. And yeah, you got to familiarize yourself and the audience with what you're talking about. And most people don't know this shit. I am a fan, however, of bolding certain terms. It runs the risk of being terribly tacky, and it's something I have employed. I've used this tactic to make it leap out at you so that when you go back through it, it's easier for you to digest. I don't frown on that completely, but it is tacky when you compare it to age-old texts. But then again, it's harder to sift through those age-old texts, before they had the ability to bold things such as this. Or they wouldn't take the time to do so, that too. Either way. You guys can look these books up. I think they're trash. Not worth anybody's time. And I forget which one of these. I found the PDF to one of these online because I didn't want to wait to know a certain something. And I forgot I did do that. So technically I did open these beforehand, just in a digital format. Apologies. I lied because I forgot all about that. I did that probably a week ago. Either way, Amazon.com. Fucking Jeff Bezos. This is my shitty review. And they took a lot of time knocking out different designs for each one of these, since there are 2 of them. I want you to appreciate that as well. Make you jump through hoops to get 2 of them. And there's no time and attention put into any of this shit. It speaks volumes. It should. But when it comes to most people, again, they're not going to see the forest or the trees. They're not going to be thinking about any of this. They're just going to digest the latest content. They're going to buy this shit, repeat this shit on YouTube, and then crap this shit out if they're capable of stringing a sentence together and or, self-publishing or whatever the hell. Their own version of this garbage. I want to teach people things that they're not supposed to know, but I'm looking for people who can use the brain between their ears, and it has not gone well. And this is over 10 years of me barking at the internet and doing what I do. Thanks for hanging out. Again, these are my feet. That's a vegan sandwich, and who the fuck cares? What the fuck do I know? I forgot to mention, related to the last post, I've had the misfortune of dealing with a kid who's just been rattling off nonsense on the Obsidian Monarch account. And they go by this jazz. I opened this and I had myself a fucking laugh. Coincidence. Theorist. I didn't know this was jargon. I was unaware of that. And I'm glad I mocked it outright. That was my knee-jerk reaction because it sounds fucking stupid. Because it is stupid. But so is that kid who's been trying to bend my ear, or my eyeballs in this case, in the digital format. Naturally, it's part of this just dog shit. Yeah. What the fuck do I know? Patterns. Either way, this shit is fascism at its finest. It's censorship. It's patently fascist censorship. So I'm on the Obsidian Monarch account. I was recently flagged and slapped on the wrist and told I can't do this, that, and the other thing for a while. I can't upload new videos because I posted a video about cancer and I pointed out how cancer works and how we're being lied to and how we're being manipulated. It was flagged as medical misinformation according to their policies here on YouTube. So obviously whoever moderates YouTube is a bunch of bags of shit. Here's a video. This one here, which I'll just screen record in a second. Oh, fuck me, now it's going to do that. I was going to try to squeeze this into 1 minute, but everything's wildly inefficient these days. It's private, because I made it private. I was going to make it public so that I could pinch it, because the author just contacted me and whined at me. If I try to make this public, hold on, let me move this little bar that's in the way. And when I click save, it's going to tell me there's an error. What I wanted to point out in terms of patterns is this was live on YouTube before I got slapped on the wrist. So it means, in my mind, I mean, logically speaking, this came prior to me being slapped on the wrist. This came before the cyber infringement, you know, where I was trying to help people, in stark contrast to YouTube misleading people. But I can't make it public because I'm currently being run through the ringer based on that patently fascist censorship. Patently fascist horseshit. And most people aren't going to experience any of this. Most people aren't looking for patterns. Most people aren't paying attention in general, which is why this shit exists. That's why I'm documenting this. But as always, what the fuck do I know? I think dear old Zachary said something to the effect of, this is 100 out of 800 pages? Is that what he was alluding to? Because this garbage is barely 81 pages. This is the novella, essentially. Part 1, or Chapter 1, or whatever the fuck. Oh, Volume 1, pardon me. As if it matters. And this one is shy of 200 pages. So we could round up, which I fucking hate doing, but 300 maybe, out of 800? Fucking horseshit. And it's superficial garbage. People should know some of this stuff because it's available to you. It's not an eye-opener. It's not profound. It's by no means brilliant. It's laughable, but most people are easily taken into by shit like this because they're well below average. That's why things are bad and why things are getting worse, because most people haven't realized that, which goes back to, you know, my mission statement. Pull your head out of your asshole, you dumb fucking cunts. The difference between the fellow who whined at me, and I should say one of the differences, one of the key differences between us is I could teach you things you're not supposed to know. Very few people, I've only allowed very few people to glimpse some of this. I used to leave a lot of answers online. I've been leaving fewer and fewer because most people react poorly instead of pulling their head out of their ass, just like Zachary did. He's a great example, especially since, I mean, his stuff is out there more so than some of the other kids who have whined at me in the past. I've been keeping my circle small for the most part. I've quite literally been cinching it up. Like a tie or, you know, a noose. Yeah, it's slow going because no one wants to be told that they're full of fucking shit and that they're doing what our masters want, which is why we have access to the internet anyhow, to the DARPA fucking internets. Lately I've been pointing out, and some people know this based on the accounts that I moderate, I've been pointing out things that are superficial to me, and it's things that you've never heard before. I guarantee it. Because people don't have a fucking clue what's going on and they're truly not invested, which means they don't have priorities, which is, again, why things are bad and getting worse. They are easily taken in by sensational dog shit. Not unlike what Zachary shit out. It's unfortunate, but that stuff's noise. And that's what you're going to find. A while back, I jumped on TikTok. And just for perspective's sake, in less than 6 months, TikTok has destroyed 3 or 4 of my accounts. That doesn't happen to people like Zachary. Because they're shopping around a sludge pile of noise. Propaganda, sensational bullshit, superficial shit. one example. Yeah. I'm a walking disclaimer statement, and I want to complain about a number of things, even though that's what I've been doing online far too often, more often than not, disproportionately so, because most people I bump into in this cyber format aren't thinking for themselves. They react out of the gates. They don't sit with information and fucking think about it. The junk that I ran through in his quote-unquote books, these volumes, seen it before, know about it, worked with it. In some cases, I mean, it's absolute dog shit. I mean, what did I say? Highlighted planets and dinosaurs. He actually mentions shit like that, which just proves that he doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. More importantly, it proves that he shouldn't have left anything in the public sphere because he does not understand what the fuck he's talking about and what he's promoting. It's a disservice to you and I. If you take anything away from this long-winded tirade, just think about that. If you simplify it, that's what you should be focused on, is the fact that he's shopping around fucking misdirection. Intentionally or otherwise. Either way, it's misdirection. Either way, it fucks us up. And if you haven't figured any of that out, we don't live on a fucking wandering star. Now, I could say that, and that goes over most people's heads, bad pun intended. Because people are fucking stupid. Now, here's another thought. When I say shit like that, most people assume. They make a blanket assumption. And I've said this too many times online. And you don't hear this come up. And it worries me when I leave stuff like this online if somebody like Zachary sees it. Because then he might start repeating it. He's not going to understand it, of course. But he might start repeating it. Just like Robert Edward Grant did with some of the other stuff that I've talked about. We don't live on the flat earth and we don't live on the fucking globe theory. Both of those are outlines, spoon-fed to us by our masters. Told you guys before, why would they lie? Why did I just say what I just said? Because you can't use either of those as a fucking tool. If you understood what I just said, you would have eyes to see to a degree, based on why I'm complaining about Zachary's books, his books. The shit that he put out there. Eventually, maybe I'll teach people again online some of the other stepping stones again. I've been doing this in a private format, and I stopped doing that, honestly, a couple weeks back. Just because it's frustrating. It's really frustrating when most people don't truly give a fuck, but they are just out there looking for some sensational stuff to repeat. Which means they're going to take what I could teach them and they're going to drag it through that sensational bullshit. Which means they're going to corrupt it. They're going to fuck up the information. I've been stressing that long term, and most people, they say they get it, but they still run out the door and do it. In other words, when I teach you something, it's going to resonate with you. And because it resonates with you, you're going to want to tell people that you know and you like and you love. And people have in the past. They're going to want to show their partner or tell their kids, and this type of thing happens. But you and I were raised, or indoctrinated is a better way to put it, in the same system, which means all these people know is propaganda. This is my starting point. I had to pull my head out of my ass, and I have to remind myself to do it every single fucking day. And some days are easier than others. Today was kind of weird on that note. I was more indecisive than I usually am, which begged a lot of questions. Today's what? Friday the 16th of August. Very curious, because usually I don't feel that way. Pretty direct about things. Have a plan, execute it, etc., etc. And impatient when things like that don't unfold naturally. Yeah, very strange. Either way, I was hoping to knock out a little something on here, but this is a shitty delivery. If you sat through everything, like I said, if nothing else, just think about the planets and the dinosaur horseshit that Zachary's shopping around in those bullshit books. And yeah, you can buy these ones, even though it's not going to affect him, off Amazon, and you can return them if you want to see what I'm talking about.